folks. Today we're going to talk about Molly. For spoilers, anyone that hasn't read The Cured, Povalia, and The 40th Day, you'll want to click off on this one because she's in all three of those. Molly is actually one of the characters that's changed the most from when we started, or when I started, I should say. Um, she wasn't ever supposed to be a major character, which happens a lot actually. That's I joke that when I'm writing, I should try not to give characters names because once I give them a name, I'm in trouble. They become a major character or more major than I want them to be. Kind of like if you have an animal that you found and you don't want to give it a name because then it will be a pet. Same sort of feeling. Anyway, Molly is one of the six cured that Nella and Frank give the cure to. Um, Originally, when again I started that book at the scene where they're waking up, she was not even supposed to survive to get to the city. Um, we're going to talk about how I make death decisions in a little bit. Not today, but um, she's involved. Uh, she, uh, in the first draft, I think ended up making it to the city, but they didn't leave with the others when they went to the cured colony. And then by the time the cured was put out, I had changed so that she did come with them, but I really didn't think she was going to play that major role. And to be honest, without giving too much away about what's coming, um, she played, I think, less of a role than I intended by the end of the 40th day after I had made the decision to like keep her around. So you will see more of her in the new project, and that's all I'm going to say about that part. As far as her character, most of the characters that I write in this series, I want to be as normal as possible. I have read a million post apocalyptic books where the people that are surviving are experts, which makes sense. Those are the people that would survive in a dire situation, and it's interesting and everything. But I also wanted to look at how just a normal human being who's not, super prepper or um, like survivor guy would make it through because I think a lot of the trend in post-apocalyptic fiction has been like lone guy does it all himself or saves a group of people by himself, and I don't think that that is how it would actually happen. I also don't know that that the world needs my voice in addition to those already existing promoting that. I think that we have a lot of lone hero saves the world type of books, and sometimes I think we need more of people banding together saves the world stories because I really think that's how things actually change. Is by us coming together and doing our best and trusting that other people around us are also going to do their best. So, Molly was as average a teenager as I could think of at the time. Um, she's in her um, early 20s, mid 20s by the time you see her in The Cured, obviously, because the plague's been going on for a while. But her history is basically as a grocery store clerk and a high school student. She does not have any special skills, which she tells Henry. She does not have any special knowledge, just like he doesn't either, and not almost none of this group does. Um, Forgive me for cricket yelling in the background. Uh, she doubts herself, which I think would happen especially to somebody who had grown up reading and experiencing media where one's hero saves the world type of things is what they're exposed to. Um, and I also think being young in a world that's this scary, when you're away from your family, especially that early part of adulthood, would be very, very difficult. And um, I think she is, I want to say, the youngest adult member of the cast of the entire series. There's obviously Marnie, who's a kid when this starts, but as like a fully grown person when you see her. Originally, Molly's the youngest. Um, she still needs kind of guidance to come and to take her own place, which I think is important. Um, that she is her own agent, which I think again I didn't do a great job uh, in the 40th day portraying, but you'll see. It will get better. um, the reason she's got an illuminated manuscript type page is because again, um, she uses the idea um, of being like a page or a, a servant or something at the round table, and everybody else is going on quests and she's stuck home. That's how she feels. So, you know, Vincent and Henry try to convince her that no, she's the King Arthur. She's sending them out on quests and things like that. Um, Again, the idea of fairy tales and childhood stories is pretty prevalent throughout this part of the series. So you have like Henry waking up and looking in a mirror and thinking he looks like Rip Van Winkle, which originally I think I had um, him comparing himself to Iron Hands, that fairy tale, that Grimm's fairy tale, but I changed it to Rip Van Winkle. I can't remember if I ended up using that for Neil or not. Anyway, um, and then you have Henry seeing Igor in the when they're scrounging for supplies and thinking about the Pied Piper, and with Molly you have um, like Percival and Galahad. Anyway, so those those stories are also about how memory um, sometimes you go farther back in your memory after trauma to things that were formative. So for her, it's Tales of King Arthur. Um, she is kind of a stand-in to Henry for Marnie, not like a substitute or anything, but when he's trying to take care of her in The Cured, when he's trying to persuade her to, keep fighting, and she's got this terrible gangrenous injury in her hand, he's trying to fix that for her as because he couldn't be there for Marnie after Marnie had helped him. So their relationship is kind of a he wants to take care of her. He wants her to survive because it will mean to him that he's not a failure if she makes it, which is selfish, obviously, but that's his relationship with her. Vincent, on the other hand, doesn't really see her as his child. He sees her as a force for good that hasn't realized it yet. So he treats her as more capable than Henry does, basically. And if it had been Vincent she'd gone to with the injury, it would have been probably a very different scene. Um, I can't tell you a lot more about Molly without spoiling some things. So I'm probably going to leave her there for now. Uh, yeah, I think if I were going to rewrite this book from scratch, I don't know that Molly would be a point of view character, but she would be a much bigger character. We would get some more scenes from her point of view, kind of like, in Crisis we get Ruth scenes and we get Father Preston scenes and we get Bernard scenes. Like it's mostly from Ruth's point of view, but there's other point of view scenes in there. And I think Molly of all six would probably be the most interesting alternative viewpoint from Henry. Obviously, we get a little bit of Ricky and Melissa later on in the series, and we get a very little bit of Vincent in the 40th day, but Molly kind of gets the shaft. Pam even more so, but Pam again, she was meant to stay in the city. Like that was never she was never going to leave. But that might have been interesting to talk about when we get to Povalia and what happens in the city. It might have been interesting to see some things from her point of view. Anyhow, so lesson learned. Or future stories, you never know. Okay, so that's Molly. And tomorrow we'll be talking about everybody's favorite grumpy parrot, so Surly Shirley. And I will see you tomorrow. Thanks.